So this video is the sewing part. In my previous video, I showed us how to draft and cut our pattern. So today we're going to be stitching our pieces together. So I will advise that if you haven't seen the video of how to draft and cut this one shoulder of corset, please make sure to watch it so that you can know how we arrived at this. So now I have my front pieces. This is our center front, this is one of the side, and this is the other side. And I also have my two back pieces. As you can see, one side has a shoulder and the other side is off shoulder. And then I also have my bra cups I'll be using to give fullness to the bust area. And then I have my regling boning I'll be sewing to give it structure. So now the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to keep my patterns aside now. The first thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to pick, this is our main fabric and this is my lining fabric. You can see that I've also ironed visible interface into it. So I'm going to pick the center front like this, and then I'll pick one of the sides here because this is my main fabric. Then here, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to notch the underbust point. So you can see that this part is my underbust point here. I'm just going to notch it. Can you see that? So I'll make sure to notch the same point on the center piece. Can you see? And then I'll fold into two like this, and then to notch the other side. Can you see I have my notch here? And I'll also pick the other side here. This is both lining and fabric. I'm going to notch the underbust point. Can you see? Can see this is because we'll be joining all these pieces together. That's main fabric to main fabric, lining to lining. You want the underbust points to match up. So for this one that I haven't notched the lining, I'm going to repeat the same thing. So now I haven't notched all the underbust points, so I'm going to separate lining from fabric right now. So these are my main fabrics. I'm going to place this right now like this. You can see the part I notched. And take note that my notch is not up to ½ inch because the seam allowance I added to this patterns are ½ inch. Okay, so I'll take this to my sewing machine and stitch on ½ inch all the way to this point. I'm going to join this side also. Okay, I'll repeat the same thing for the lining and then I'll show us the next thing to do. So I'm done stitching the bustier together. Can you see what I have? This is what I have on the right side. So, and I also repeated the same thing for my lining. So you can see all the underbust points are matching up. So I'm going to notch my seam allowance here just to give it that relaxed look. So I'm just going to notch it. You want it to relax well. So I'll also notch this side. So I'll repeat the same thing for the lining. Then I'm going to open my seam lines and press it opened. So I'm going to press it and show us. So as you can see, I've finished ironing my seam lines open. And you can see I use paper stay to keep the seam lines opened on both sides. And then you can see that the paper stay stopped exactly at the underbust point and then also at the underbust point here. So this is what I have, and this is what it looks like on the right side. Can you see? So this is what it looks like on the right side. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to bring in my bra cups. So first I'll fold this bra cup into two like this and then notch the center here. I'll also repeat the same thing for the second one. I'll notch the center here. So now you want to make sure that this part of the bra cup is sitting directly on the underbust point. So you can see that this is where I notched my underbust. So I'm going to pin it here at this point. Take note that this is to the main fabric, okay? So I'm just going to stretch out the cup. You don't want it to gather anywhere. So you can see here, my pin is gathering it. So I'm going to remove this pin and pin properly so that no point is gathering. So just open my seam lines well. and then repin again. So make sure that the notch part is matching up with the underbust point like this. So can you see? So this is what I have. So I'm going to go ahead now and pin all these points like this. So you can see what our cup is looking like on this side. So this thing I'm doing can be done on the lining and it can be done on the main fabric also. Okay, so I'm doing this on my main fabric because I'm going to be sewing bonings to my lining. So that's why I'm doing this on my main fabric, and I have some appliques I'm going to tack on top of the bustier here. So that is why I'm just going to do this here. So this is what I will do. So now you can see after pinning all the points, this is what I have. So you can see that I have my 1/2 inch seam allowance that I'll be using to stitch the neckline here. So you can see here, can you see here? Can you see what I have here? So you notice that this is close to the neckline here. Can you see? It's really close to the neckline. So you wouldn't want it to obstruct the neckline. So all I need to do now, I need to have that 1/2 inch that I'll be using to turn my neckline. So I'm just going to cut this part a little like this. Can you see? So you can see, so I now have what I'll be using to stitch my neckline. So I'll bring in this part also now. I'll make sure to pin it also this way on the underbust, this point directly on the underbust. And then I'll make the cup, make sure that the cup is sitting inside the cup, that make sure that it's sitting inside the cup of the bustier. So you can see that at this point I have my 1/2 inch I'll be using to join my sleeve, so that's fine. So I'm just going to pin this side like this. So can you see how they are overlapping on each other here at the center front? So you can see this is because of the kind of neckline I have. This is an asymmetric neckline, that's one shoulder off. So can you see how they're overlapping on each other like this? So I'm just also going to pin this point like this. You see? In my cups, this is what I have. Can you see what it looks like? And this is what it looks like in front. So you can see the fullness in the cup area. You can see that this underbust point is sitting flat and nice. That's from the underbust point here. So now I'll set this aside. For the lining part, can you see this is my lining? I also ironed my seam lines open, but I didn't use paper stay to seal it, as to seal it down. So now I'm going to sew bonings to the seam line of my lining. One on this side, one on this side, and then one on the center front. So this is what I'm going to do. So to be able to sew my boning to this curve, you can see this is what our boning looks like. You see that it's straight. Can you see? So to be able to sew on this curved part, you need to make the boning curve like this. Can you see that already I'm curving this? So how did I achieve this curviness? All I did was to on my steam iron. You need your steam iron to be very hot. So, and then you now begin to iron and begin to form the shape you want to achieve. I'm giving it this curved shape. So can you see that while I'm pressing it, can you see how the stem, the boning is beginning to bend to the direction I want it to? So I'll just keep bending it like this because I'm going to sew on a curvy part. So I'm just going to iron it this way. Make sure that your steam is coming out and make sure that your iron is very hot to achieve this curviness. Can you see that is even curvier than it was before? So right now you can bend the bone into any direction. Can you see? can bend it to any direction you want to bend it to. So this is it. So now that I have achieved this curviness here, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this to my sewing machine, and then I will stitch it to this part. So before I start stitching, I'm going to come up by half of an inch from the hemline here. That's from the half length here. I'll come up by half of an inch, and then I'll stitch it to the seam line. Remember I said to the seam line first, like this. I'll stitch it this way. Can you see? And then when I get towards this end where we have the armhole, I'll stop 3/4 of an inch before the end of that, before I get to the armhole here. So I'll do that for this side. So for this side also, I don't really need to iron too much because this side is straight. And you see this side is straight and this side is going to the armhole. So with my straight boning, I will be able to achieve this. All I need to do also is to sew it to the seam line here also on both sides. I'm going to be sewing on this side and on this side. That's what I'll do. And then I'll have one on the center here. So for the one on the center here, I'll also come up by half of an inch, and then on the neckline, I'll go down by half of an inch. So I'll stitch it down and come back and show us. So I'm done sewing my bonings. And you see? So this is what it looks like on the wrong side. I have one on the straight bustier side and I have one at the center here. And you can see this side. So can you see the shape I have here? You see it's giving it that nice structure. So after stitching my boning, you can see I went ahead to top stitch it this way. So you can see that you can no longer see the boning, but from the way it is, you know that there's a boning here. Can you see that? So and I have one at the center. You can see that I use masking tape to cover the tip of the boning, and I also did the same thing here. So on this side, you can see after sewing my boning, I went ahead to top stitch it. So you can see, I don't know if you're seeing it clearly because I used a matching thread, of course. So this is what I have in front. So I'm going to make sure to give it a very nice press so that everything relaxes well. You can see, so you can see the curve I have here. So by the time I press it, you'll see that this side will give me that effect. And take note that this is on my lining. So and also for the bra cups, I've stitched my bra cups. Can you see? So none of my thread is showing in front, only this one here at the center. Can you see? And it is neatly tacked, that is not even visible. Like I said, I'll be embellishing the front with this. So I'm going to tack this embellishment on the bustier like this. So I'm just going to cut them into pieces and tack it on top of it, leaving all the parts where I'm going to be stitching. That's leaving my sewing allowances and all that. So I'm going to tack it, and then I'll show us the back piece. So these are my back pieces. This is the main fabric and main fabric. So you can see that I have one boning line here. I've stitched it. I came in by half of an inch before stitching the boning line, and you can see I also taped it down with my masking tape. I did the same thing on this side. So now the next thing I'm going to do now is to place my lining on the right side of the fabric like this. So place it on the right side of the fabric like this, and then I'll stitch this way on this half inch seam allowance I left here, and then I'll also stitch this way. So I've stitched my back piece. You can see this is the side with the shoulder. I've stitched it this way. So I'm going to go ahead now and notch this side. So once I notch, I'm also going to notch this part and then turn it out like this. So this is what our back looks like after turning it out. And you see the part with the shoulder. So I'm going to give it a nice press so that everything can relax. So you can see my boning at the end here. So this is to give structure to it because we're going to have eyelets at the center, that's at this part here. So now this is the off shoulder part. And you see I stitched my lining to the main fabric, and this is what I have. Can you see that the upper part I didn't turn it? This is because this is an off shoulder. I want to attach the off shoulder sleeve. So this side is the lining side, and then this is the fabric, the main fabric here. You can see my off shoulder sleeve. So I'm just going to pin the sleeve to this side. So can you see? So now, so both lining and fabric, you can see what I have here. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and stitch on 1/2 inch here. I'll also repeat the same thing on this side. I will stitch on 1/2 inch here. So once I'm done stitching on 1/2 inch, then I'll bring in my front piece. This is the front piece. So you can see I said that this part is the right side. That's the main fabric. So can you see? So this is this side like this. This is what it should look like underneath it like this. So you can see. So now for the main fabric, I'm going to pick the sleeve for the main fabric, and then I'll bring it this way to the front. Can you see? So can you see? So this is the sleeve attached to one side of the armhole. That's the side, the off shoulder side, and this is it now. So I'll also bring in the lining and repeat the same thing. So this is what the lining should look like too at the back here. You can see that this is what it should look like. So I'll pick the lining of that's the line, the sleeve of the lining part, and I'll also pin it to the lining here, to the armhole of the lining also. So I haven't pinned it here, so you can see this is what I have here. So the lining of the sleeve of the lining, you can see, and then the main fabric. So this is the lining side. Can you see what I have? And this is our back piece here, and then you can see the side with the shoulders. You can see what we have here. Can you see? So we have this way, and then this side is the off shoulder side, and then this is also the side with the shoulder. That's the second back piece. So I'm going to stitch the sleeves on 1/2 inch. I'll stitch on 1/2 inch, lining to lining, fabric to fabric, and then I'll come back and show us. I have a flounce I'm going to be inserting into this part that will stop at the sleeve here. So I'm going to show us that once I'm done with this. So I've joined my sleeves to the bustier. Can you see? And this is what I have here. So this is fabric, that's the fashion fabric, and this is our lining. Can you see what it looks like? So let me place them together like this. So can you see our neckline here, and then this is the off shoulder, and then this is the back side here. So I had to remove this embellishment because I want to sew my neckline. I just pinned it before. So the next thing now I'm going to do is to bring in this flounce that I cut already. I've stitched the flounce already, and I also beaded it. So if you want to see how I made this flounce, I'll be dropping the link in the description box so that you can check it out. I'll be pleating the flounce to the neck area. That's on this side where I have the off shoulder. Okay, so here is the flounce. So now from the center front here, you can see the shape I have here. This is exactly the center front. So from this center front, I'm just going to move away by 1 inch from the center front here. So I'll just give it a tiny notch here. So you can see. So now I'll go ahead and start pleating my flounce. So you can see that one side is longer than the other. So this is the side that will be in front, and this side will be at the back. So I'm done stitching my neckline together. This is what I have. You can see. So and then I also went ahead to notch it. You see? So all you need to do is just to notch the neckline, notch it. So notch all the way to this point. So After notching now, next thing I'll do is to turn it out from the right side now. So then you see, you see. So this is the side with the boning. Can you see how my cup is sitting inside? So I can now take off my pin here. Now turn it out. You can see that I've turned the side. So I'm going to give it a very nice press. So we have come to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something. If you did, please like this video, share this video with your friends, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel. And also make sure to put on your notification bell so you get notified once I post a new video. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.